If you're out here ordering DoorDash and skimping on the tip these days, you might be an asshole.
Dude, you are an asshole. Uber CEO Dara Khosrowshahi's impassioned email and letter to Donald Trump on the plight of Uber drivers everywhere. Lyft is now partnering to deliver free meals to, I guess, university students on campus. Is it morally right to drive during this outbreak? And much, much more topics coming up in today's episode. What is going on, Brandon? Good to see you, man. How you doing?
Good, man. I haven't seen you in a minute.
Dude, I feel like I haven't seen you in years, man.
We are on lockdown. It's been a while. How's your hair looking? I think that for me so far is like I need a haircut. Well, I need to I get my hair braided. I need to get it rebraided, and then I need a haircut.
That's a great question. Is that why you and I both are wearing hats?
That's why I'm wearing a hat. I don't know why you're wearing a hat.
It's for the same reason I'm wearing a hat as well. My hair is all over the place. And that's not a bad thing. I'm actually balding, so actually I guess it's a horrible thing. I look 10 times worse with longer hair. It's like I have cornrows too, Brandon, but unwillingly have cornrows. As in patches on my hair are balding and there's streaks. So it's like cornrows, but bald cornrows.
That's a style. But hope you're doing well over there. I know we.
Should we show the Gridwisers or hair in 3 seconds?
No. No.
You don't want to pull off your hat?
Not gonna happen.
You sure?
Not gonna happen.
How about for 10 likes and 20 comments?
Tell you what, we get 100 likes on this video, I will absolutely take my hat off in the next podcast before hopefully I can get my hair cleaned up a little bit.
If you guys are watching this, get us to 100 likes because you and I haven't seen Brandon's hair in weeks. And I know for the past 4 podcasts he's had his hat on. I want to see Brandon's hair.
Your boy's looking rough. But okay, let's jump into it with Dara K writing a letter to Trump about protecting workers. It says, hey, give some for all those benefits that you are giving to the full-time workers, and there might be some for part-time workers as well. Give some of those to the rideshare drivers, the gig drivers. How do you feel about this, John?
I feel, I might get a lot of hate for this, but I feel like that's a good thing, right? It's him actually voicing an opinion for drivers. It's him taking the message to the top of the leadership, top of the food chain, President Trump himself. And he's advocating in the message to not let focus slip away from gig workers, specifically rideshare drivers driving the Uber platform. Now, the reason why I say I might get a lot of hate for this is because I feel like, of course, he has some ulterior motives. Now, I don't want to say exactly what it is. It's up to everybody's own interpretations. When you read his letter or excerpts of it, link in the description below, by the way, where we found this, so you can read it yourself. But I feel like a lot of people, a lot of drivers especially, have lost so much trust in Uber that they take this with some sort of grain of salt. They take this really very, very hesitantly, like, hey, just what are you really up to? But overall, I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things where it's kind of like, what's the saying? It's like this. I like the message, don't love the messenger, right? It's because, of course,
don't hate the messenger.
What?
Just don't hate the messenger.
No, that's a saying. Like, I like the message, don't like the messenger. Is that not?
I've never heard of that. Well, I'm not saying I'm right. You're probably right. I'm wrong.
Maybe I just made it up. I don't know. But that's how I feel about it, because I feel like, of course, drivers need help. Like, when this all has gone down, probably some of the most affected people by this are going to be gig drivers, right? You're going to be the Uber drivers, the Lyft drivers, the Via drivers, the Postmates and DoorDash drivers and things like that. Even after this is all said and done, they're still going to be like highly affected because in kind of the, oncoming recession that's kind of probably going to happen at this point. There's going to be a lot more drivers on the road.
They're saying it's going to be worse than 2009.
Probably fewer passengers. So we're going to be seeing a lot more. It's going to be a lot more difficult as a driver. So yeah, they need a lot of help. I 100% agree with that. But guess what, Uber, like you're the reason that they're not getting like some of this like basic health, right, or help, right? And then I'm not necessarily saying there's definitely arguments from a driver's point of view as to why drivers don't want to be full-time employees. But guess what, Uber, like you guys could have easily figured out some way to make everyone full-time workers, and you could provide, and they would already have these benefits, right? So it's kind of like and also like Uber is sitting on like $10 billion in cash. Like they're going to cruise through this whole thing. Everyone's talking about, oh, the stock price is declining, and yeah, it's from short term, it's going to decline. But guess what is likely going to happen here? They are going to cruise through this issue, and 12 to 18 months, coronavirus isn't going to be such a thing. And then even in kind of the recessionary times, they'll probably be able to lower their driver rates even further because there's going to be so many other drivers on the road. And then they're going to use that to continue to become profitable. So I don't think Uber's going to like get that much is really going to have that much of a negative blowback from this, so they could potentially use some of their $10 billion in cash to help drivers out as well. So yeah, drivers need help, but is the head of Uber, who is kind of one of the ones that is kind of the leading force in drivers not being full-time workers, rightly or wrongly, it's a weird message from you, like it's a weird message.
You got some very powerful opinions there, and I would have to agree with you on some of those things, especially the whole thing with the CEO. Like, hey, you haven't really fought for our rights, and now you're trying to push it onto the government. You're not going to. How about this, Dara? You take it out of your own paycheck. You give yourself zero salary, and then we redistribute your salary as driver help and assistance. Now, I don't want to get into that, but that's why some of the controversy surrounds this. It's like, hey, you step up now, but like, why haven't you stepped up before? We don't really. We don't. More like drivers are saying almost as if like we don't need your voice, Dara. Like, you left us in the mud for so long. We don't need you now.
Yeah, I mean, one thing about this is it's nice to have this voice. It's kind of because Dara he has a big voice. He's a powerful figure. He's incredibly well known in the travel industry, right? Was he the founder of Expedia, or was he just one of the CEOs?
One of the executives of Expedia.
I think he was a CEO for a while.
Okay, then I think you're right. I'm not completely sure, but I think you're right.
Like superstar in terms of the travel industry, incredible resume. He can get his message across to the president, to the government, which is great. And guess what? Like, yes, drivers do need a lot of help. It is just really hard as a driver, I would think, to hear Dara say, "Hey, help out these drivers." When Uber, as a driver, you feel like Uber and Lyft and these companies have been kind of screwing you for a long time, right? Yeah. So I can see how you're just like, you can kind of miss me with that, man.
And I want to point out that, especially for the certain subtype of driver, the type of driver that is relying on this for full-time income, the driver that cannot pay their bills if they don't drive. And I appreciate what Uber and Lyft have been doing with their coronavirus policies. Like, hey, if you do get sick, we'll give you 2 weeks paid. But, dude, I kind of wish for more. Like, yeah, have that policy in place, that contingency plan, but why not add more to the pot? Why not sweeten the deal by giving us drivers what they're proposing on Capitol Hill right now, which is two $1,000 checks to Americans. How about the rideshare companies pay it forward? Or pay it back, actually, because they've been stealing all this money from lower driver salaries.
It can even be, you could have it structured a little bit differently, right? So you could say, okay, you make an X average usually per week. We're just gonna split your, cover your difference for this 4 or 5 weeks where basically everyone is in quarantine or something like that, right? So like, they could do stuff like that, but they don't, which is why it's like a little bit hard to hear this and
I could already hear some people that are watching this thinking, I can already hear them in my mind, back of my head. Beggars can't be choosers. Now, I'm going to stop you right there if you're one of those people that do not equate Uber drivers to beggars, because it's not like that. It's multifaceted. There's many reasons why that a driver needs to drive. And I'm sick and tired of hearing online response is, if you don't like it, get a job. If you don't like it, quit. No one's forcing you to drive Uber. There's many reasons why people drive Uber, okay? There are many reasons why drivers are doing it full time, okay? So I believe that we need to look at this at an angle of compassion, look at it through the lens of humanity, because right now it is a trying time, but we're all in this together.
Yeah.
And no,
really
beggars cannot be choosers in this instance. So
yeah,
coronavirus, 2 weeks compensation, what they've already done, love it. Please, in addition to that, protect drivers' incomes because they're currently down, right?
Yep, down like big time. Like we said a couple weeks ago, driver earnings were up 8%, which they were. They were up.
They were. We had the data from 32 cities, 100,000 drivers. So I remember we got this comment that was on our YouTube. It got filtered. It was like, you guys don't know what you're talking about. Like, we should post it right now on the video. This guy I did not want to respond to, but he clearly did not know that we aren't just two talking heads. We both are part of a technology startup where we have an application platform of hundreds of thousands of drivers. And by hundreds of thousands, I mean 100,000 drivers. Clarification there.
Yeah, so that data was real, and it was showing that drivers were making more money, but that was for like a week.
One hot second.
For a hot second. And those earnings, unfortunately, drivers have plummeted. We're gonna publish that actually in the Gridwise app. Hopefully it's Monday when we're shooting this.
Well, you know why it plummeted? I want to rectify with the users or with the watchers here. The reason why it plummeted because all events were shut down. So when we released the data, okay, no events were shut down. There wasn't a national lockdown.
Yeah.
Events were still happening.
No events were shut down. And at this point, like, you got cities and states completely shut down. Only people that are going to work, only people that are getting rides are people that are going to work, or maybe you can go to your friend's house.
Now let me ask you, Brandon, in Chicago, are you on lockdown right now? Stay-at-home order?
We have the state of Illinois has a stay-at-home order right now. Yeah.
So Allegheny County, where we're based in Pittsburgh, effective at 2 p.m. earlier today, Monday, is a stay-at-home, announced 2 p.m., effective 8 p.m. tonight, is stay-at-home order. So we cannot leave our houses unless it's for critical functions such as exercise, groceries, or like emergencies.
That doesn't actually mean, so drivers, you can drive in most of these cases of stay-at-home
You're classified
orders.
as essential.
Yeah, you're classified as essential. I even know, not that we're saying go out there and drive, but unfortunately, we talked about this before. Some people have to go out and do either drive or do delivery, things like that. So we're just giving our information. Do with it as you will.
Right, arm yourself.
But even in Italy right now, which is just fucking in a rough spot,
it's
man.
Bad in Italy, dude.
I really hope that we can figure out a way to avoid that. But even in Italy right now, I know delivery drivers are working. I'm pretty sure taxis and Uber drivers are working as well. So just like an FYI on that. But yeah, I mean, driver earnings are down big time. Talk about you're seeing like 30-40%, decreases in overall earnings per day, and per week, per hour, for drivers across the country. Even more in some places. I mean, I'm looking at LA, and drivers in LA are just getting bad. I saw some $5 and $7 per hour averages in LA last week. So it's getting pretty nasty in a couple places. So yeah, I mean, hey, Uber, Lyft, Uber, rideshare companies. If you want to help out your drivers, the letter to the president is amazing. Use your voice 1,000%, but also use some of those billions in cash reserves that you have to help your drivers out. I think it's going to go a long way in terms of building some goodwill with your driver base. This is a great opportunity for that. So I hereby call for driver-based UBI for
Dude,
all
Brandon, this is like if I were in any leadership position in marketing or PR at Uber or Lyft, I would grab this by the horns and be like, this is our chance to rectify like 10 years worth of bad press and bad relations with our drivers. Imagine if Uber or Lyft all of a sudden came out strong and said, you know what, don't worry. Okay, drivers, don't worry. We'll support you financially as best we can. through this period, make up for your lost wages, so you don't have to drive. We'll actually pay you. And then if you choose to drive, we'll still pay you. And on top of that, we'll cover you if you do get sick. Now, imagine, like, those of you who are listening, imagine if you heard that from Uber and Lyft. How awesome would that be? And would you be willing to forgive them for, like, their past transgressions?
That's a good question. Would you forgive them for their past transgressions if they stop being kind of shitty companies to their
we work directly with metrics about customer retention and user retention, and Uber's drivers are their customers. Technically, they're the ones that are on the platform.
Well, that's what they like to say. That's what they like to say. I mean, that's why Uber's, they're not full-time workers.
In that, not an apples comparison 100%, but like if you have a churn of drivers that leave the platform, it's exponentially more expensive for you to reacquire those existing drivers. It's near impossible. And then to bring on new drivers, fresh blood into the workforce, it's much better to keep and retain the users you already have on your platform.
Yeah. I mean,
so it's in their best interest.
I'm sure they're banking on that recession and then just a flood of people trying to be drivers, though. So I wouldn't.
That's the thing. I agree with you somewhat with that. Yes, there's going to be a lot of people out of jobs and needing this to fill some sort of gap. But if there's a recession, it also means less people are going to have discretionary income to ride Ubers and pay for it.
Sure, yeah. So
if I lost my job and I'm driving Uber, I'm definitely not using Uber. Like, I'm as a passenger.
Yeah, 100%. So, I mean, hopefully, I think, hopefully we don't lose some people that will be Ubering around. Yeah. Then I'm sure they'll hope, like, okay, we get pull back up on board, and then now we can just essentially have, like, this super cheap, low-cost, essentially kind of like public transportation. But because there are so many more people trying to be drivers, we can also, like, lower the price and then lower the driver's earnings a little bit. I'm not saying this is 100% what's going to happen. I'm saying I can totally see a path where that is their mindset. Like that is a path that I think Uber is probably thinking about a little bit here. Hope it doesn't happen. Hope they do amazing things, and I really hope we don't go into a recession. But I think that's all a possibility.
It really is. And on another topic, those most affected, restaurant owners right now. So there's been an uptick in delivery as rideshare passenger demand declines. There's drivers and are trying to make it up in some other form, and that's delivery options, either on the same platform as Uber, such as Uber Eats, or with other gig platforms for delivery, Grubhub, Postmates, DoorDash, some of the big ones. Also, since most of the white collar office people are locked down, not going to work, the only two ways you can get food is go to the grocery store or order delivery. So all over the country, there's been increases in demand for food delivery. So much so that like Papa John's and Domino's they told CNN they're planning on hiring 10 to 20,000 employees, new workers, just to satisfy that demand. So things on the interwebs, a restaurant owner reaches out to Uber drivers on the Uber driver subreddit, asking for best practices and tips and tricks, what to make delivery drivers' lives easier. And I thought it was such a wholesome thing, Brandon. And I wanted to talk about this. I didn't mention it at the start of the podcast, but I wanted to bring some more lighthearted discussion back into this. What are your thoughts, Brandon, about this post, this act of empathy?
I mean, it's nice because, I'm sure a lot of these restaurant workers, they recognize, hey, these drivers are literally the only people coming into my store right now.
It's like making me money.
Helping me like actually make some money here. And I'm also sure they also understand, hey, these guys are running around in all this coronavirus out here, risking their own health. So it's like, the least I can do is not be an asshole in terms of like how I treat drivers. So I think it's awesome. I think it's brilliant. I don't really have any great tips except for I think probably the number one thing for me would just be like, hey, be on time, like just be fast.
Dude, that's
like,
huge.
Don't waste time.
You and I, we have personal experience. We did Uber Eats twice.
Absolutely.
together. So for those of you who don't know, check out that video, link in the description below. It's actually on our YouTube channel. Brandon and I, we drove Uber Eats for like 2 days just to test it out. Brandon was filming, I was driving. And then the worst experience was having like several drink orders from McDonald's. Like I'm talking shakes, I'm talking sodas, I'm talking like McFlurries. Shit is middle of the summer, shit's melting everywhere. So the biggest tip from this post on Reddit was that if you're a restaurant owner, make sure you use those drink carriages, the cardboard base. You slide the 4 drinks in there, and make sure you wrap it in a plastic bag and tie it tightly. So this serves 2 purposes. The plastic bag keeps all the mess from the drinks contained. Also, the pressure, the act of it being wrapped around tightly, it solidifies along with the base a very stable structure, so you can just carry it and go.
Yeah, that's good. That's good right there too. I mean, because we also had some pretty rough experiences with beverages as well. So I can see how, like, wrap that shit up, make it like a little bit nice and neat there.
You sound like a condom commercial. Wrap that shit up. I sound like
a what?
A condom commercial.
Wrap that shit up.
Wrap that shit up, bro.
Trojan Magnums. I love that this guy's doing that. I hope more people more restaurant owners and really people, like, what I want to see is like a passenger say, hey, how can I help my drivers? I would love to see how much people are tipping, and we should have better data on this too. We might just add this to like our survey. How much are passengers tipping drivers, and has that increased? Because if it hasn't increased, and if you're out here ordering DoorDash and skimping on the tip these days, you might be an asshole.
Dude, like you are an asshole. Like, do not. I mean, if you have the financial means to order delivery, which is much more expensive because it comes from a restaurant, than going out there and buying groceries for yourself and cooking, then you can afford a $3 tip extra.
Yeah.
On top of that.
Yeah. Like, you should be, we're in delivery, usually you get anywhere from like 10 to 15% tip. Generally, I think that's what the apps default at. This is 25-30% territory these days. Dude. Like, at a minimum, guys. Dude. Come on.
Like, so I remember reading about this exact argument, like, on the internet, of course. People were backing up people that aren't tipping by saying, oh, well, look, it's a downturn for everybody. They're struggling on money. No. If you're struggling, you don't order delivery.
Stop fucking DoorDash.
Go to the grocery store.
Get out of here.
Cook for yourself. Rice and beans. Like, don't order, like, $25 worth of delivery and not tip.
If you're struggling and then you're ordering DoorDash, which is like it's expensive to eat out like that, you can get the fuck out of here because you're not struggling that much.
Tip a fucking dollar, even. Tip a fucking dollar.
Like, something. Get out of here.
So whoever is on the camp out there, I don't want to hear it. If you are like, oh, we're all suffering, I can't afford a tip. Absolutely. You can't fucking afford a tip if you're ordering delivery. Yeah. Get out of here, that bullshit.
Get out of here. Or else just take your ass to the grocery store.
Anyways, that was supposed to be a positive, lighthearted topic, Brandon.
Yeah, I tried to do a little bit of a rant.
we kind of just got a little litty there. But speaking of lighthearted topics, so check this out. So some Lyft passengers think it funny. They think they clowns by creating new accounts with the first name Corona and the last name Virus. So now when drivers get pinged and when they take trips, they get pinged to pick up the coronavirus. What?
That's kind of funny. It's kind of funny. A little joke, a little lighthearted humor there. That's kind of funny. You get pinged to pick up the coronavirus. That's like you took a lot of time to do that, though.
Yeah, but like riddle me this though. Shame on Lyft's filters. Like, you would think that company would be like, okay, during account creation, we're gonna limit every permutation and name that contains corona,
right,
or virus. Like, it's just not. You can't make names like that.
Yeah.
So what does that say?
I would think they should probably be have a little bit more of a heads up on that stuff. But also, like, I don't know who's out there. It's kind of sort of funny, but like, you don't really ever get get to see, the fun. Like, you don't ever get to see anyone's reaction from that. So you're just like calling Lyft's being a dick. And that's, and then all you do is have this like feeling, oh, I bet this guy is like, what the fuck? like you don't even get to see it.
You know what? People, I'm glad people are managing to find humor in these dark times. Another positive topic, Brandon. I think you might have a little more knowledge about this than I do. So Lyft is delivering meals to students in a state-sponsored program?
Yeah, so this is like really cool. So Lyft, obviously, they don't really have, a Uber Eats or like any sort of like a food delivery platform, which is potentially gonna screw them over here, given like where the situation we're at right now, because they don't have like that to fall back on like Uber does. But what they are doing that's like pretty cool here is in San Francisco, they're gonna pick up meals from a couple of different distribution centers ran by government agencies to actually send to homebound seniors, like senior citizens and low-income students that rely on state-sponsored meal options, which is awesome. That is just like I don't really have any, I'm sure they're making a little money on that, but whatever. I don't really have anything like bad to say at all about that. That's like a good thing. That's a smart thing. I hope they really expand that quickly outside of just the Bay Area.
I think that's great.
Yeah, look at Lyft. Wholesome Lyft over here.
And speaking of helping drivers, I know last podcast we talked about some things off the top of our heads that we thought could benefit certain drivers who are of the type that they just need cash now. They need to drive or else they can't pay bills. So we've been doing these surveys, Brandon. Mm-hmm. And if you participate in our surveys, are we still giving out gas cards?
What do we do? Yeah. I mean, we could, I think what might be a little bit better is if we can just kind of just do it like a normal gas card. I love being able to like do these surveys, one, to get like the pulse of the driver community, and then two, to be able to just give a tiny bit to the driver community as well. We don't really have a great way of saying, we do our kind of our weekly contest where we have someone take a picture of it, of the gas of our magnet, and then we can send that out as proof, hey, we did this. We don't really have a great way to do that with surveys. Like, it's hard for us to say this is proof that we have actually given these these gift cards away. So we've run 2 of these so far for like this crisis. We've given away with $500 in overall in gas cards / gift cards. Be happy to give away. Let's do 3 for $100 each for this next survey that we're running. I think this is going to be a little bit more delivery focused, but yeah, we can definitely give away another 3 gas cards, $100 each. I think that would be good.
I think that will help drivers out there. So to qualify, you got to be a Gridwise user. So nobody on YouTube, please do not just like leave a comment in the comment section about the survey. Make sure you're a Gridwise user. The only reason, I'm not even going to link the survey in the description because then anybody can use it. So in order to ensure that you do qualify for this, make sure you, of course, subscribe to our email marketing list. For those of you who unsubscribe, you're probably not getting these emails. Right, Brandon?
Correct. You probably are not getting the email.
So make sure if you're unsubscribed, send a support ticket to support@gridwise.io.
Or maybe we'll have something in the app. Maybe we'll have like a little push notification.
Hey, you know what? That's a good idea. A little push notification in the app, and then we'll link it to the perks tab.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that settles that, huh? So three gas cards coming up. This is us trying to give back to the driver community in the best way that we can. Now, we're not Uber. Keep in mind, drivers, for those of you who saying, oh, it's only we're not Uber. We don't got $10 billion in cash laying around. Guys, no. We're early stage, small startup. Don't. Shit's tight.
We are.
So,
yeah, I think we're gonna definitely figure out some ways to.
Would it be better if we split the 100 into 50 and give out more gas cards to more drivers that way?
I mean, what are we giving?
6.
50 gas cards?
No, it was 6 $50 gas cards, or we can do 12.
6 $50 gas cards?
Yeah, or we're going to do 12 $25 gas cards, and this way, we spread the help a little bit more.
I got you. I don't know. We can figure it out. Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll have more details in the email that's to come, or that
true.
you guys maybe have already gotten. So yeah, we'll see, but we're gonna definitely do what we can. Definitely trying to think of ways to just, if we have more surveys like this, can we just like pay you guys, directly $5-10 or something like that? Like we're trying to think of different ways that drivers can kind of that we can kind of help you guys, that you guys earn more. So we're definitely working on some things, and trying to get some stuff out the door. But look out for this upcoming survey for sure.
Also, check your Gridwise perks tab, the promotionals tab, the perks, because we are working hard to find better deals with existing companies and also new partnerships with new companies. So check it and check it often.
Also, a lot of like coronavirus related resources. How do you stay financially stable if you're not out on the road? How can you do things like delay your rent, delay your car payment, credit card payments, student loans, stuff like that. We have some details and some information in a couple articles there. We have some delivery driving options for people that are kind of looking for differentiated driving options. We have a coronavirus self-assessment actually, or not self-assessment, but telehealth assessment actually, that anyone can take, and any driver can take, and see a medical professional, so that you can then actually maybe get that 14-day payment from Uber and from Lyft there. So a lot of different like cool things that we're trying to do there to support drivers during this time.
Awesome. Well said, brother. Well said. I feel like we should have from now on a sign-off ritual. What do you think?
What are you thinking here?
I'm thinking I go with my sign-off ritual spiel, and I go, and this is Jay, and then you continue, and this is Brandon, and I'll finish it. You ready?
Feels a little corny, but let's give it a shot.
All right, let's do it. Like, share, subscribe. This is Jay.
And this is Brandon.
And we'll see you on the next podcast.